still here to make sure that it goes in the right direction.
Hi,
My name's J. Stan McCauley.
I'm Naisha McCauley, and you're watching AccessTV.org.
Do I have to try that again? Good evening. I'd like to welcome you to our home here, Post 142, American Legion in Hartford. This is the program that's for the community. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to introduce the senator and let myself get out of the way, and you guys can handle it from there. We have Senator Blumenthal here, and we have the EPA with us. We're all marching around here, but today we should accomplish something. Last time we was here, we had a start. Today, let's finish it. Senator Blumenthal.
Thank you. How about a big round of applause for the American Legion? Thank you, Commander. All the veterans who are here, please raise your hand. Thank you for your service. Thank you, Bridget, Prince. You know, anytime I have the opportunity, especially when I'm in the American Legion, I'm a proud member, I really want to say thank you, because you're the reason why we can stand here and say whatever we want. And you can say whatever you want about me and about any of the government officials who are going to be here. In this country, we don't have censorship, we don't have retaliation, and I know you're here to speak your mind. I'm going to be very brief, because the most important part of what we can do, in my view, as government officials, is to listen tonight. And you'll remember we were here not that long ago. The Environmental Protection Agency couldn't be here at that time, but I talked to Bridget Prince, who really deserves a lot of credit for fighting this battle, and Cynthia Jennings. Big round of applause. And then I talked to David Cash of the Environmental Protection Agency. He's the regional administrator, which means he's the highest official for the EPA for this whole region, New England, including Connecticut. He has come here himself to be transparent and to listen. And so I want to thank him for being here, as well as Katie Dykes, who is the commissioner of the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection, otherwise known as DEEP. And I know we have representatives of the MDC here tonight. Mayor Bronin is here tonight. Thank you, Mayor, for being here. And I'm just going to come right to the point, and then I have I have a ceremony honoring a group of firefighters who saved a child's life down in Meriden. So I'm going to be leaving a little bit early, my apologies. But the main point I want to leave with you is the commander said that he had a beginning, and this is, I think he said the end. This is the end of the beginning. This is the end of the beginning. It's not the end. It will be the end when we fix the problems, when we have action that will eliminate the flooding, stopping the backwater in people's basements, all of the problems that you've seen firsthand for too long. Action is overdue. And that's not to cast blame on anyone, because there are probably more than one person, more than one agency that has responsibility here, and more than 1 year. Goes back a long time. But I think everybody is here in good faith, wanting to address this problem. And certainly I'm going to stay on top of it. My staff, Rich Keogh, is here. He will be here. He will stay. I'm not going to, even if I were here, I wouldn't do a lot of talking, because, say it again, you should be here to listen. There's an old saying that God gave us 2 ears, 1 mouth, so that maybe we do a little more listening and talking. I've tried to tell that to my 4 children. Hasn't sunk in yet. But the most important part, what we can do, is to listen and then act. And I turn it over to you, Bridget, or Cynthia. Cynthia, I want to give everybody here a great big thank you for coming out on a Monday evening. No, it isn't easy, no matter how far you've come from, whether it's Boston, where David Cash has come from, or other parts of Connecticut. But I just want to thank you for showing how important this problem is. And I'm going to be back to more meetings, guarantee. I'll be back to more meetings. Thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you for your support, for your interest, and thank you for being active and engaged. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Blumenthal, for all you do for so many. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone who's in this room for coming out about an issue that affects largely North Hartford. And it has affected North Hartford since I was a child. I grew up on Cambridge Street. I lived here for 40 years, and I did not move out until I realized that they were going to allow the landfill that's down on 91, they were going to allow them to operate for 2 years with no permit from DEP at the time. Okay, so that didn't happen. We managed to shut the landfill down. We managed to shut the trash incinerator down that was destroying the lungs of our people. We're talking about health issues. Now, during COVID, when you have somebody, God knows whose raw sewage coming into your house, in your basement, there couldn't be a bigger health problem than that. So we want to thank the commissioner, we want to thank all of the individuals that are here today. Today is a listening day. I want to thank the minority contractors that have been cut out of so much work for so long and are not being invited into bid, or once they are invited into bid, they don't have the resources in order to do the job. Why? Because they haven't gotten the jobs beforehand. We as a city are paying tremendous amounts of money into what's called the Clean Water Fund, but we're not getting the resources of that fund. So it's very much like Boston, taxation without representation. And it's up to us to let people know exactly what is going on in our community and exactly what it is that we intend to have happen. So right now I'd like to say that I want to thank everyone for coming. I want to make sure that everyone understands that the important people here tonight are you in the room that are testifying. We have had businesses shut down for so much and cost so much money. We've had residents that could no longer live in their homes. We have one person that's been in a hotel since December 4th, paying her own way. These are issues that are not covered by homeowners insurance. If you don't believe me, call your homeowner agent, just like I called mine, and he said, no, you would not be covered under those circumstances. So my question is, who is going to pay? Who's responsible? We have people that have been harmed. We also have to make them whole. And we have to have a plan to do that. So I'd like, to that, with no further ado, I'd like to start with whoever would like to come up right now and speak. Preston Neal. Oh, a minority contractor. You don't come up, I'm calling on you, and I know most of you.
While you're coming up, I hope everybody has a chance to look at these photos. Hope everybody has a chance to see some of these photos. I've seen some of them before, but there's some new ones here. And they're pretty graphic. We're talking here about basic justice, environmental justice. And I think that the whole country has a stake in this issue. I'm going to the State of the Union address tomorrow night. President Biden speaking to the whole Congress. I hope he talks about environmental justice. And if he wants to see environmental justice in action, I hope he comes here to Hartford, because this is where we need it.
Thank you, Senator Blumenthal. All right, and the first person I'd like to introduce is Preston Neal. Am I saying it right, or is it Neil Preston? Okay, Preston Neal, who's a minority contractor who has his own story to tell about what's happened with him and MDC and getting contracts for contractors for people who live in our and work in our community. So, Preston here.
Well, mainly I am basically talking about the infrastructure of the clean water project that actually went on for the last 5 years, probably. We was actually cut out as far as the work itself were concerned. Most of us, minority firms out of the north end of Hartford, get pretty well sell the equipment that we actually purchased work on the infrastructure project. But apparently, it just didn't work out the way that we actually thought it was going to be. We couldn't put it together, and the next thing we know, that everybody else was working on the projects and we wasn't. So in the future, what we really want to do is see if we can put a plan together, see if we can be included in some of the work that's actually is coming down the tube in regards to the clean water new project that's coming out. I don't know how we're going to actually put this together other than the paperwork is being done before the project actually hit the road. We're going to have to do something in that nature in order to take care of the minority firms, especially on the north end of Hartford. We were definitely left out on the first go-round.
Thank you very much. And I'd like to say that it's important that, I don't know, where's Channel 3? Oh, this is public access. Okay, you might have to hold your own mic and put it up here. Okay. All right. First of all, Preston Neal speaks for many contractors that have not been included in the process. Okay? And it's critical that we have other contractors that would like to come up and speak, please do so. Before I call on you.
Thank you, Cynthia. My name is Giselle Jacobs, and I am a contractor, owner, operator of Sister Soldier Environmental Services. I'm a construction, commercial, residential cleaning company, woman-owned, black-owned, veteran-owned. I live on Capon Street around the corner. I'm not here to speak about what's going on in construction. I can care less about those contracts. I'm here to speak about the fact that last week I had the VA hospital in Newington because I had so much pain in my stomach. They had to rush me in an ambulance to West Haven VA, and as a result of a CAT scan, they found a mass on my right lung. So I spent the following day in the cancer center. So when you were up here speaking about us, you know, what we're exposed to environmentally as a result of living on the Capon Street, and I was born and raised here in Hartford. I have my 2-year-old grandson back there. His father and the rest of my children were born and raised here in Hartford. His father graduated Weaver High Honors, UConn High Honors with a master's degree, and he recently taught in Hartford Public Schools until he moved on in his career, but he continues to work with our young people here in Hartford. So I'm here to speak about that. I don't know what's going on with my lung. I know I've never smoked cigarettes or been exposed to secondhand smoke because I can't stand them. Not to say I haven't done other things. But I'm here to speak about myself and other community members who are exposed environmentally. Yes, my basement floods. Yes, I have to circle the blocks and several blocks in my community whenever there is, excessive rain. Yes, in 2009, I was the assistant executive director of the Minority Construction Council when $250,000 came into our community to educate and train 15 individuals who live in our community to be able to work on that clean water project. And as a result of my not participating in the funny business that goes on with the monies that come into our community for our community, my life was threatened. The FBI called me, and I didn't know FBI had an office in Rocky Hill until I was threatened for not participating in the funny business that goes on with resources that come into our community. I didn't come here tonight to talk about that. But since I see the MDC sitting over there, I've always questioned what happens to the monies that come into our community. If they set the money aside to train individuals who live in our community, and then I ride up and down our community and I don't see those individuals working in our community, that clean water project is supposed to go on for 20 years. Where the people at? I travel all the time. I've traveled 4 weekends in a row this past month alone. When I go to Cleveland, I see individuals working in their communities, who live in their communities, who look like the individuals who live in their communities, and the same thing should be happening here in Hartford. So that's what I came to speak about and ask those questions. Where's the money going? Why aren't we seeing the results of the monies that come into the capital city of Connecticut? So, guys, stay tuned. I have to go back to the cancer center next week, and I'll find out what's going on with my right lung.
Thank you so much, Giselle. All right, do we have anyone else who would like to come up and speak? Business owners, contractors, homeowners, please come up. Introduce yourself. Oh, come on. Whoever wins, gets up here first wins.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Joan Facey. Putting myself out here for my community. People who look like me, who live here and work here, and we're not having any justice. I own the property at 677 Albany Avenue in the corner of Magnolia Street. There was an abandoned house behind my property, and it was taken down between the city of Hartford and the MDC. After they took the house down, we started to have problem in my sewer line. I called the MDC. They came out to my property, they put a camera in, and they said my system had collapsed. I don't think so, because I know how this thing works. I called the MDC and I asked them, can I have a copy of the diagram where I enter your sewer system? They said they'll get back to me next day. Next day, I get an email to say they don't have a copy because when they took over, they didn't have plans then. After that, the flood came and it ruined my property. And what really happened, the front of the building is flat roof. The water goes down in the column like that and it goes through the sewer system. Now the sewer is blocked, the water had nowhere to go. And all the sewer and everything came in my building and it ruined it. There's a restaurant there that cannot be used because the whole place was full of sewage. I've gone to the MDC, I reached out to the city of Hartford to put me back where I was prior to this. Until this day, City of Hartford never came in to see what happened. When the NDC came, they humiliate me. They said they saw no sewage. I said to them, we don't live like that. This happened in June. And in October, the city of Hartford connect back my system to the sewer. What happened to all that sewer all that time? The city did came and removed the tenants to a hotel. When the tenants went to the hotel and they were there, they said it was so disgusting They came back and they stayed upstairs. When the water comes in from the street, it's above the basement in the roof. So the cold water did not get into the sewer because everything is downstairs. And I've been fighting. The worst part of it, when all of this was going on, I was in a car accident. I was laid up. The city says, why didn't I report it before now? It's when someone went there that they found out what has happened with the water. Everything is ruined. And I'm standing here and I'm telling you, MDC says to me, they would not even replace all the hot water heater, the furnace that has been through the sewer. But they did it in West Hartford. And when they did it in West Hartford, I have a tape with Mr. DeBella saying they're going to make them whole and have the contractor pay for it. The city of Hartford has insurance, and MDC had insurance. I only happen to be a neighbor. Why should I be standing here telling you the same story when my property has not been sanitized? It's $8,000 just to do the sanitize. The grease trap is over $3,000. And all that plumbing will have to be redone because the sewer went up through it. Because it has nowhere to go when they backed it up. And MDC tell me it's not possible. So where did the sewer go if it was locked? This is not fair. I have pictures of sewers being pumped into the backyard because the church was flooded with sewer too, because the tree property was tied into one lateral, and they said they didn't know. I understand that. It's an accident. But why should I be standing here telling the same story? I'm not asking for everything. All I'm asking, clean my property and make it back the way it was. I did not do anything wrong. There are children walking by on the sidewalk where all that sewer was. That's not fair. There got to be some justice here. I have people there on the avenue every time that the rain falls, sewer comes up in their basement. There got to be something done. There's a whole lot of money right now in the infrastructure program in Washington. At least they could come and at least put in a new sewer line so we can live, eat, and drink just like anyone of people in Hartford. We need a voice here. And I'm surprised because the city of Hartford, they had a facade program and they have grants. I'm not looking for a grant. Why couldn't they have a loan program that I could apply to? I have equity in my property. I can stand on my own. I'm not looking for charity. There has to be some justice for people like me. It's happening, but everyone is afraid to talk. But I have to tell my story. And I want people to see my face. Because I've worked all my life. That property, I took my 401k out and I bought it. When I bought it, my husband was mad. I said to him, it's not every day you're not going to be able to punch the clock. And right now, I'm in that position. I can't punch the clock. But I have a restaurant there with every equipment. Every equipment. And the biggest issue is sanitizing, cleaning, and repair all the plumbing. And I can't do it. Because I have to know where the mortgage is coming from. I'm still standing. I have 2 light bills, 2 gas bills, 2 this, 2 that, 2 water bills. And I still have to be paying them, and I haven't worked. It's not right. The city should have a program for people like me to give me a loan so I can help myself. Or whatever repair needs to be done. It's not right. People are hurting.
Thank you so much. And thank you very much for your testimony. And let me just say that people who are in a situation like that, if it's deemed that it was MDC's fault, then MDC should be making you whole. You should not have to take out a loan to protect your house. Come on up. Thank you so much. Introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Risa Canada, and my husband Sam is here, and I want to speak on behalf as a homeowner. We lived on Elmer Street for 43 years, and we never had a water problem to now. It's devastating to go into your basement. Every time it rains, I can understand what she's saying. Every time it rains, it's like a river. I've used my basement as an educational room. I used it as a home daycare in the past. I never had a problem. I lost the rug. I lost important photos that can't be replaced. I lost educational materials. And I lost the water heater. And I don't like it when it rains because we have to go and I have to put on rain boots and go in the basement and we have to pump the water out of the basement. I'm here to represent homeowners who use the room as an extra room. We're not moving. I'm not moving. Someone says, well, you've been there for 43 years. It's time to move. And I said, no, I'm not moving. We're not moving. We're taxpayers. We live in the city of Hartford. My husband and I was raised here, and we raised kids on Elmer Street. And it's a great place to live, but the water problem that we're dealing with, it's devastating. I'm here to say, help us fix the problem. Please help us fix it. And I believe I represent homeowners who are afraid to stand up here and say, we need your help. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And just like Giselle Jacobs, who testified about the mass in her lungs, that water that I was exposed to had black mold in it. It sat there for a foot deep for about 30 years, okay? And so eventually I got diagnosed with more cancer markers than my doctor had ever seen in life. And she did a lot to save my life so that I could live to be this age. So I think that it's critical that we're dealing with we're dealing with health issues as well. So I thank everyone who has the heart to get up, and I thank EPA for coming out and listening to the problems of what's going on, as well as DEEP, as well as MDC, as well as the contractors that are out here working, trying to make a living so that they can live in this community and support themselves. So thank you. We'll have the next person come up and introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Sharon Douglas, and I've lived in Hartford most of my life. I spoke at the previous meeting about my flooding in my home, and since we were here, I've had, when it rained, rivers in my basement for about 3 days. I videotaped them and sent them out to people who wanted to know. I've received a grant from the city. Some of you may have heard me talk about it before. Since then, I've reached out and asked about the contractor who did the work, because it was my understanding he would come back within a year. He has not responded. And Mr. Bronin, I've also copied you, I think, on one or two emails concerning my issue. So as far as, this has been going on in my home for a long, long time. And without really realizing how many other people around me until the past couple of years were in a similar situation. We did have a quorum a few years back, and we were told that something would be done, and that was by MDC at the time, but it seems to be a much larger problem than just MDC. Since work I've had done, they came in and they put a back water valve, and they put in a sump pump, and it seems to be working fine. So over those 3 days, when I had a river, the river was being flushed out by what MDC had done. Whenever I would call the foreman, he would ask me to take a look out the window to see how it was draining, and so far it's been draining the way that it should. So there is hope for all of us but we just need to have the support to get it done. And the houses in our neighborhood are beautiful homes, and some of them are colonials that have been around for many, many years. And people can't afford to always maintain them the way that they should be because they're investing their own money to keep their houses from flooding. And the most important thing I want to add today that I didn't mention before was that I'm an equestrian, and I have saddles. And I recently brought them in to clean them up, and they've been in the basement for maybe a couple of months. And when I looked at them the other day to get started, they all have mold. And it's all colors of mold. So I'm dealing with that now. So I understand what everybody who has a similar situation is going through. So if you guys can help us, please do. We really need the support. That's all I have to say at this point in time. Thank you for listening to me again.
Thank you so much. All right. Okay, I think we have someone else who'd like to come up and make some statements. Remember, it's all about listening tonight. Did I mention that DEEP is here as well, and thank them for being present? And these are the people that you're talking to generally, so you might not want to turn your back.
Okay, hi. I'm Deborah Jervis. I wasn't going to get up today. Then I said, you know, I need to add my voice to the story, because the voice is a powerful, powerful tool in getting help. So I live on Pembroke Street, near Granby Street, first flooded in 2019. Had to re-gut my basement, which was fully finished. First time I saw shoes doing a breaststroke. I didn't know shoes knew how to swim. Second flood, so I got that refinished. Second flood last year, all right? First time I didn't know shoes knew how to do a doggy paddle. So they were just figurines, everything was just flooded, had to re-gut a second time. I was lucky that I had a clause in my insurance that was able to help me a little bit, but that doesn't stop that I have to dig in my pockets also. I'm in a situation right now, I cannot file a third claim if anything happens again. To me, 3 strikes and I'm out with my insurance. So my backyard, these pictures I was looking at right here, my backyard was a swimming pool. All I needed was a diving board to go diving in it. And so what I have to say as a homeowner, we're begging you for help. We're begging you for help. We need the help. We're tired of the finger pointing. Well, it's the city. Well, it's MDC. Oh, it's the city. It's MDC. We need the help. We're crying out for help. Please help us. Okay, so I'm trying to do everything preventative. And the person that was here before me said she was able to take advantage of a grant. Yeah, that's putting a Band-Aid on the system, but it's not curing the system. It's just putting a Band-Aid. So we're trying to do preventative things on our part. So if another rainstorm happens, at least it will give us a little help. But it's putting a Band-Aid on it. It really is. It's a Band-Aid. I had a backwater valve, and it could not sustain the amount of water. Now I have a sump pump through the grant, and I can only pray. When we get these torrential rainstorms, I can't sleep at night. I don't sleep at night, wondering, even with the sump pump, what's going to happen. So I think there's a light at the end of the tunnel. I'm glad there's a forum like we have right now, and I'm asking for help. And I hope we receive it as homeowners, because I'm not moving. I refuse to give up. I'm not moving. I'm not going anywhere. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think it's important that we remember that for those of us who have suffered through these flooding, through the sewage that comes in when the backwater valve breaks, and the fact that I was so worried about Sharon Lewis, who lived directly behind me on Cambridge Street. I was on Cambridge, she was on Rutland. I was so worried that I called my homeowner's insurance agent to find out if I was covered. And they said, absolutely not. Okay, so the question is, who is going to make me whole if my basement floods? Who is going to make these people whole who have suffered? And who is going to act on this now? We are not waiting for infrastructure money to come down the road. We are paying through the Clean Water Act in our bills every single month. Be late with your water bill and see what happens. COVID is over.
Hello, my name is Ken Green, and this is my house. This is my shed, my backyard, my neighbor's car. She lost 2 cars, I lost 1 car. I think that we need to hold everybody, they're listening tonight, but I think that we have to leave here with the agencies and the cities and the governmental agencies telling us what they're going to do. It's very easy for them to say, we hear you, and then we come back 6, 7 months later and we're in the same spot. So we need action. We need more than just listening. So for example, EPA, I'll be honest, I don't know exactly what role they have, but if they're looking at the sewer and the water and the health conditions in our community that's been going on a long time, I think through regulatory and permitting, they need to help us. And so the state, we know in the Blue Hills area that the state at the Park River can do something to help alleviate some of the water in the drain. So the state needs to go over there and do that. But when you talk to the state, they'll tell you it's MDC or the city. The city needs to have not only grants, but not only loans, but they need to give folks money, I believe, for anyone that wants a backwater valve or anybody that wants a sump pump, free of charge, and to make that available to anybody that wants it, and they should not have to take out any money. We've been fighting this for a long time. If you're on the Cleveland Avenue, Coventry Street, Main Street side of Blue Hills, if you're on the Granby Street side of Blue Hills, when that water comes, we're gonna get it. And we have been lucky in the past few years because of the 4-year project when they tore up Granby Street, they began to separate the water from the sewer. So years ago, when I used to get water in the basement, I used to get the water in the sewer and the mold, and there's a lot of problems. It took a 3-year project on Granby Street. They did do some separation of the sewer and the water. So now when I get water, it's just water. I'm not satisfied with just it's water because I'm still getting leakage. So that has happened in our area, and I think in the Upper Albany area, in the Main Street area, we have got to do something to separate the water from the sewer, because that is health risk that is in our community. And regardless of the conditions of the road, Albany Avenue, Main Street, to me, with the technology, you could go in there and you could separate the water and the sewer. We're paying money every month. MDC might come to these forums and says, well, we're trying to separate the water and the sewer for you, community. They're not doing it for us. We're paying for that through the Clean Water Project money. So it's $1 billion project, but we're footing the bill. If there's money coming down from EPA, if this agency has anything to do with it, they should look at speeding up the water and the sewer separation. They should tell us what their role is with that and how much money they're giving to the city MDC and how that's going to help us, give us a timetable. The state has some roles in this with some permitting and some regulations and cleaning up that overflow valve over in the Park River. The state has some responsibilities. There's monies that the city and the state can offer residents, I think, in grants and free of charge to solve some of these problems. So there's some solutions. I just think folks agencies and governmental agencies need to come out and say, this is what we're going to do, this is how you access it, and we're going to listen to you and we're going to act.
Thank you so much. We also have to recognize that it isn't just loans and grants we want. Those people who have suffered need to be made whole immediately. They are losing their homes. They're in hotels paying out of their pocket. So these individuals that are suffering or have suffered need to be compensated by whatever your insurance company. I don't know who insures you, but you did not get grants and loans without some kind of liability coverage. And I just want to mention too, I want to have everyone give Bridget Prince a hand for pulling this together and pulling it off to the extent that we are all here together working on environmental justice issues once again in this community. So thank you so much, Bridget.
Good evening. My name is Lisa Vivian. My parents, bear with me because this is a little emotional for me, and I wasn't really prepared to speak. My family's property, which is located at 978, 980 Albany Avenue, was affected first by this sewer backup back in 2017, October 30th to be exact. And so we've been dealing with this for 5 years, and it's very disheartening to hear that nothing has been done in 5 years, or I'm hearing other residents say they've been dealing with this all their life. Our situation is a little bit different. We owned a commercial building, 9-unit rental property with a cafe restaurant on the first floor. My family owned that property for 40-something years, as well as they've owned several other businesses in Hartford, as well as rental properties. So they have contributed to the tax base to Hartford for a very long time. The incident that happened during the time when the Route 44 project had first began on Albany Avenue, which is through DOT, and they hired a contractor. On that day, and like I said, the property was very well maintained for 40 years, probably one of the best properties on the avenue. We began to get 5 feet of raw sewage in our basement, and we didn't know where it was coming from. I went down to MDC, I went down to the contractor's satellite office, I called the city of Hartford, trying to get some resolve and get some help. But what they ended up doing is shifting the blame onto my family and said that we were liable and responsible for it, which was not true. They told us that we had to dig in our property, and if the problem was on our side, we had to pay for it. If the problem was on the state side, they would have to take care of it. We paid a contractor, Mr. Johnson, and he rests in peace. He's no longer here. He was a contractor in Hartford for a number of years. He dug a hole. He dug trying to find the issue. Unfortunately, during that time, he hit a pipe and hit a gas line, and the whole building had to be vacated with 5 families, and we had to put in a hotel. And it came to be that the problem wasn't on our side, and it wasn't our fault. But no one would accept responsibility. MDC and the contractor and the state DOT continued to say that it was our problem, and we had to deal with it. We had to pay the city $65,000 to put up those tenants in the hotel for a few months, some of them, and some even longer. We ended up losing the building. We were in the process of selling the building. So we lost about $500,000 with this building. I want to thank the Office of Marilyn Reese with the Upper Albany Main Street Association, because if it was not for her, I wouldn't be standing here today, because they were advocating and fighting for us when we could no longer do it. It became a nightmare for me and my family. My father became ill. I became ill. Lost a lot of other businesses. And to this day, someone bought the property at a very, very discounted rate. And to this day, they cannot open the building. because no one went in there to assess the damage. There was mold in the building. There was raw sewage. It backed up not one time, not 2 times, but 3 times. So mold got all in the building and the bricks until the chimney collapsed on the first floor. That didn't get enough attention to anybody to come. City of Hartford, MDC didn't come to inspect. Mail and Reese's office took it upon themselves to have an engineer come in and do assessments. They did FOIA requests. They did a lot of things to gather documentation on what happened to our building. And come to find out that along with the problem that I guess has been going on in the city of Hartford with flooding, we had a sump pump in the basement, so we were familiar with the water coming in. So it wasn't like we didn't know the issue. We had a sump pump to pump out the excess water, but that wasn't the problem at all. We found out that the contractor had crushed a lateral pipe, and they tried to cover it up. And we went to several meetings for years. 8 representatives, MDC representatives, City of Hartford representatives. They promised us, we're going to make you whole. We're going to make your family whole again. No one has called us. No one has said anything. The building sits empty, vacant now, and is an eyesore because there's graffiti all over it, windows being busted out. The new owner can't get the permits he needs to open up a restaurant because it has to be clean. But from what I'm hearing, not only clean, it has to probably be demolished at this point. Because you imagine raw sewage sitting in the basement for 5 or 6 years? I don't know what to do. I don't know who to talk to because I've talked to a lot of these people, maybe not these people here, but most of these people sitting on the other side, we spoke to. And they promised us that they were going to do something. And they just wanted us to go away. But we're not going away until something is done. I hope they make good on their promises and they really do something this time because it's affected not just my family, but obviously many families that don't deserve that. They don't deserve to live in an environment where their health is at risk because they don't have clean water. We have businesses on Albany Avenue that obviously are affected. The people may not want to go eat because they're hesitant about the water condition or what's in the water. We had the water tested. There's feces, raw sewage, there were chemicals in the water. Chemicals, some kind of chemicals. So that lets you know that it's coming from somewhere else. I have Mr. Ellsworth here. Maybe he could give you more detailed information because he's really been a pillar for my family and fighting for us and trying to get some type of justice or remedy to this problem.
I'm not sure who I can give these to so they can be entered into the record. But we had a list of questions arising from this incident. These were reviewed with the Department of Transportation, and I'd like to enter them into the record. They're pertinent questions. First question was, where was the blockage on 980, 978 Albany Avenue? Why was the merchant's request not treated with the standard of care requested within the contract document? Because for the project, there's an elaborate document that was prepared for this $30-odd million project. And the documents outlined that whatever the situations were, there were protocols to be followed. We didn't see those protocols being observed. The matter of the sewer backup was brought to the attention of Tectonics and the MDC. Where are the photographs documenting the event. I'm not going to go through all these questions. I just like them to be entered into the record. Is that fair? I'm sorry I was late. I missed your name. What's your name? David, I think I've left messages for you before. This is the engineer's report. Okay. Thank you. So 980 Albany is my business because what I do is I look out for the facades on the avenue. Every time a building goes down, goes flat, goes dead, when the lights go out, the facade program looks bad. So I'm going to keep annoying whoever needs to be annoyed till all the lights come back on all 3 floors and in all 10 apartments. We're not going to stop. The building currently belongs to Mr. Hugh and Howard. He's been desperately trying to move ahead with the repairs, but once you get inside that basement, you realize that it's going to be difficult. 4 feet of raw sewage, frozen, thawed, finally pumped out, and then in the Fred event, which was 3 years later, everything that was cleaned out just got overwhelmed again. So if you go in there, you look at the 6th stair from the bottom of the basement, and you will see the water levels that were in the building. Came in and just went right back out. We had a bucket that was standing on top of a column. The bucket was full, an empty bucket was full and still untouched, which means the water came in, overwhelmed it, went back out. 6 foot by 6 foot by 6 foot oil tank floated out of its position and busted its way through the first floor because of the amount of water that came into the building. Came in and went back out. So that's not the worst, Miss Vivian, Miss Wiggs. That's not the worst of it. Across the street, diagonally across the street, Miss Facey came up here and she spoke. For 120 days, Miss Facey's property had raw sewage in the basement. This is not something I'm making up. This is not something that I heard or saw on TV, because I went there and helped her to clean it out. I went there and realized that she had several bottles of Fabuloso, and I went through, because when I got there and she opened the door to let me in, the stench just threw me back. We went through, cleaned, vacuumed. Finally, when it was repaired, City of Hartford came, corrected the issue. We pumped and we pumped and we pumped till we could see the basement floor. And we cleaned. We've brought this to the attention of everyone alive in Hartford. The Bureau of Public Works, Mr. Jellison, you're familiar with this. Mr. DeBella, you're familiar with this. We brought it to your board. Where's the action? We brought this to the insurance company. The insurance company said, based on what they were told, it wasn't their issue. When they got the report and they got the full issue, they said they were going to come back out, and this Friday they're going to be back on site to inspect the roof to see what the issues were. Neil, don't go. Neil, don't go. You stand right there. You don't go. When I tell you you can leave, you can leave. Don't go. Preston Neil has badgered and done everything that he can. When am I going to get some of this work? When is our company going to be able to get some of this work? Why is it that they're having minority firms parading themselves as minority firms? What do you mean, Neil? I don't see where you get the minority from. I was in Westbrook, sitting innocent to listen to a conversation. I was eavesdropping, hearing a contractor talk about how some member of his family got the electrical work on this contract on Albany Avenue. I didn't identify a minority in that conversation as well, but I'll leave that alone. That's a legal issue. I don't know if that was your money or DOT's money that was spent. I know there were stiff requirements in that document that detailed who should be working on the project and what percentages should be represented. So that's something that needs to be mentioned. During Fred, if you look at the Upper Albany Main Street website, you will notice that the fire hydrant in front of Scott's Bakery, in front of our building, was completely submerged. In 25 minutes, all that water went away. What happened to Miss Facey's water? Why didn't it leave? She told you her story. The land bank made a mistake, and nobody stepped up to correct it for 120 days. We spoke to them, we asked them, we told them, we spoke with the contractor, and they said, we did what we were told. This is the instruction we had. So I have here copies of the permits that were issued for the initial work and for the final work, the corrective action. What happened? What happened to the lady who stores potatoes in her basement on Milford Street? When all that water went through there, what did she do? Dry them out and sell them back? Or we're hoping she dumped them, all 1,500 pounds. What were we going to do to compensate her? What happens to the lady on the corner of Kent Street who, because somebody went and totally concreted their yard, all the runoff went through her property and washed her out? Who's going to replace her floor? So, I haven't spoken yet about the North End Church of Christ. They're Miss Facey's neighbor. I haven't seen peace like this. I haven't seen a more peaceful congregation, because if that congregation were my congregation, it wouldn't be that peaceful. So, what happened there? Are we going to deny that there was no sewage there? Or why did the MDC go in there and immediately upon seeing, within 23 minutes upon seeing the conditions in there, ordered a brand new water heater to be placed in there? However, in their letter to us, they said that because they did that, there was no admission of guilt on their part. Come on, guys. Let's step up. Let's take responsibility. Let's treat this community like a community. Not a community of mice and rats, because they infest basements. And we're not even going to open that conversation of mice and rats. We're just going to leave that as it is. Okay? So tonight, 980 Albany Avenue, 677 to 691 Albany Avenue, Milford Street, Mr. Montague, Albert James. How many more trips to the senator's office do we have to make special meetings and to wait 2 years later to see nothing come of them? Mr. Bronin, how many more days do we have to come down to your office with these issues? Mr. Jellison, I don't want to come back down to the boardroom. It just gives me a funny feeling. I'd like to be back there, but under different circumstances. Mr. DeBello, no disrespect, but the way the last meeting went, I listened to the entire thing to its bitter end 4 hours later, and I'm not happy. Mrs. Dykes, I don't know if you're here. You were copied on this way at the beginning. I'm sorry it had to come to this. It was never our intention to highlight Albany Avenue as somewhere where people shouldn't come to eat. Albany Avenue is 1.25 miles long food court. But if the water isn't right, we're not going to eat there. Make it right. Everyone that's here that has it within their power to correct that is in this room. Don't leave this room tonight, because we're going to call you back like we called back Mr. Preston Neal. We're going to call you out. We're going to say, fix it. Make it right. We're right there. We sit right at the entry to the Yard Goat Stadium. And if we're going to market that stadium, we're going to have to market Albany Avenue. That's our gateway. This is our principal gateway. And whatever is necessary, we're going to do it. Whether or not you agree that it should be there, it's there. We're going to support it. The Avenue has it as part of their development plan. So, Mr. Cash, I'm happy that you've taken this step. These aren't stories that we've created. When Miss Vivian loses $1 million, 9 tenants, and a commercial tenant, it's not a trivial issue. When Mr. Wiggs, I followed him during some of his hospital visits. I know what was causing his illness. So when she comes before you, please don't take it lightly. I don't see Miss Lewis here. Okay, I've taken the time to talk with her. We spoke for an hour. I documented the things that she said. I listened to the district as they talked about her situation. Mr. Jellison, I think the front end for the district is giving you a bad name. I think the people who receive the phone calls are making you look bad. When Mr. Caleb's wife called about her water bill this last Thursday, it would have been nice to just say, Mrs. Caleb, we'll have someone look into it. There was no reason for her to be told, go get a plumber. That's not our responsibility. If your bill changes from $67 to $670, that's not our responsibility. There's never a need to be rude. I appreciate you, or whoever did it, having an individual go out there at 10 o'clock this morning, cutting the wait time by a full day. I appreciate that. I really appreciate that. Speak to your front-end people. The day Albany Avenue is treated correctly, that will be the day that we'll stop having these meetings. Thank you. I'm not going to go any further.
Thank you so much. And I just want to say that there's been a lot of research that's taken place over these issues. There have been people that lived in these communities for as long as I did, 40 years plus. And people are still waiting for a resolution to the problem. But if there can be no resolution for the problem, if there's no representation, if there's taxation without representation, we should not be getting water bills. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mike Fothergill. Lived in Hartford all my life. 1960, not a homeowner. I'm a self-proclaimed North End historian. 1960, I was 13 years old. 80% of the houses all across the North End where residents were white. This situation didn't just start. It plagued them too. City changed over for the last 60 years, and it became people of color majority. Problem existed, and it got ignored. Not saying it was a part of redlining, but we need to look at a lot of the things that led up to this. These people that own these homes now should not have this problem. It should have been taken care of 40 years ago. It existed through the research. It existed. They had the same problems years ago. Why did they keep existing 40 years later? That is the real problem. That's the issue that needs to be tackled, because if we go back, make somebody responsible from the past, that would help take care of the future. You're dealing with issues of today, but this is issues that they've been dealing with for years and bypassing. It's time to do the research and connect it all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fothergill. All right, please come forward, introduce yourself.
Good afternoon. My name is Maurice Bryan. I have a small home care business on Kent and Albany Avenue. And unfortunately, my small building flooded. My small business got flooded. I am unable to get my state certification because I don't have a site. Because they have to do an on-site visit. I have to close my business in Hartford and working part-time in my own home in West Hartford. I called the zoning commissioner when a neighbor was constructing and put in a driveway. I called them, I said to them, is this permissible for a driveway to be all paved without any soak away? No one answered, no one came out. And this gentleman beside my office paved his entire yard, no soak away. So all that water comes right over into my small business. Right now, my office is molded. Cannot go into it. Cannot have my site visit. My business is just dismantled. I'm very, very, very disappointed. It was one of the goals that I was working and I gave up my full-time job. I came to serve people in Hartford. I'm able to do that. My business is completely shut. Thank you, Hartford.
Thank you so much. We have to recognize that there's a lot of people in this room that create their own business. They have their own economic engine going on. And when their business shuts down, that has a lot to do with what happens to the economics of that community. So I think it's very important that we pay attention to this and that these people be made whole. We have anyone else who wants to speak or testify about what's going on? Please come up. Thank you, and you'll be good.
Good evening, everyone. It's my second attempt to come up here, and I determined I have to come and speak. I have no running water. Pipe burst yesterday morning, like around, say, 5:30. We have the water all in the basement, water is up to my knees right here. And we called the fire people, 911. They came out, and they've been like, looking for the sky or the moon or something. Asking me where's the lockout for the water. So you're the professional. You're supposed to find it. I'm the one that found it. And then they leave and they call the inspector. He came out. Nobody did nothing. Nobody did anything. My husband is almost 90 years old. Almost 90 years old. Look at the old guy. He's in the basement, water is up to his knees. I have no water right now in the house, no running water at all. We turned the water off. We have no water since yesterday morning. No running water. Because the pipe burst in the wall. You don't have the money to call professionals to come and or do something about it. When the rain falls, there's no rainfall outside. All the rainfall in the basement. Everything is in the basement. Everything is in the basement. The pipe that burst yesterday morning, all the water is still there. Now this old guy can't manage. I have a torn shoulder. I can do nothing. If I had to call someone off the street, they're going to want $100 per hour. We can afford it. Please, we're begging for help. Please, fix that water problem. And the pipe in the wall, we have no water whatsoever because the pipe burst inside the wall. We have no water up yesterday morning. No running water to make a cup of coffee. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. All right. Is there anyone else? Please come forward if you have something. You have something additional to say. Okay, and there's somebody behind you too.
Hello, Mr. Mayor. I want to appeal to you. I'm asking you, please help me. I receive a pump from the city of Hartford. That some pump cannot be installed because the place is not being sanitized. And once you touch all those pipes, everything is going to be all over the place. There's already mold there and all the bacteria. And I have a restaurant and everything is going to go through there. I'm asking for help to sanitize my basement so that pump can be installed to protect me from the flood. City of Hartford gave it to me, and it's going to be 2 years. I'm asking, please, somehow, some way, make a miracle to help me. Thank you.
Thank you. And I know that the City of Hartford has an application process for, I think it's a $7,500 grant. Not a loan, a grant. But God knows if you can fill out that application and get that passed, good luck. Because they ask for your Social Security, for your child support, and they get all the way down to asking you about, hey, do you owe tickets to the City of Hartford? So let's. Okay, I've had complaints about the fact that there was so much information required that they could not even apply for the grants. Now, you can sit down and you can work with us and let us know what it is that's going to make it easier for people who can actually get help, and maybe eliminate the parking tickets, the child support, I mean, whatever. Maybe you can eliminate some of that so that people can actually get a grant. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, hold on. What information do you say is dishonest? That people are having a hard time filling out those grants or becoming eligible?
That's correct. We have people not to the $7,500 grants. First of all, let me just say, there's a lot of stuff I'd love to address. I won't talk long now because I want to make sure you get this back. But I'd love a chance to just talk to some of the broader issues in a minute. I do want to say thank you so much to our regional administrator, our commissioner, and to everybody who's here. I want to share two things. As you heard, we had to set up a grant program as soon as those floods happened, set up a grant program to give $7,500 grants to buildings that could demonstrate that they were affected by the floods. All that money went out. We made it as easy as we possibly could to get those out, and it's all gone out. I want to say there's a different set of grants. This is important. There's another set of grants which comes through federal CDBG, Community Development Block Grant. Those can be bigger loans or bigger amounts beyond the $7,500. And for those grants, we're restricted in how we give those out. And one of the things that we have to look at is income requirements. And that's the federal requirement for income eligibility. You got to look at the whole household. So I want to make sure that I think it's important for everybody to have accurate information about this. I want to be very honest about the fact that some of those CDBG grants that go out from home preservation loan funds, for example, those have some additional requirements. But that grant program that we set up for those $7,500, we did everything we could to make that as easy as possible to apply for and get. And thankfully, it's all pretty much gone out.
Yes, I can attest to the $75,000 or $7,500 grant. I got it right away. However, damages that occurred was $17,000. But the $750 could not help. Until now, I have not taken the $7,500 from the city of Hartford because I don't know what to do with it. $17,000 for the damages that is there. So.
Thank you. And we have a lot of issues, particularly Sharon Lewis, who had to pay almost $73,000 to pump the sewage out. That's before, and that doesn't count all the things that she lost, her furnace, her oil tank, everything that was in that basement. So we have to recognize that a drop in the bucket is not going to help. Somebody has to make these people whole, and these damages that take place are taking place in huge astronomical amounts, large enough to cause people to lose their homes.
Good evening. My name is Sam Canada. My voice spoke before. We's a resident of Hartford. My father had Canada Cab, limousine company, bus company. We did all the public schools, furnished homes, and that was project concern. My statement tonight, I want you to have record be aware. I live 54 Elmer Street. This is a house on 14 Elmer Street. In front of the house, have the MDC have been there 4 times, dug up the road. It's about a car's length and about 6 feet deep. They have repaired 4 times, all right? Before that, we didn't get no water, right? Since then, 7 months ago, we've been getting water back in the basement, right? We want to know why. So I just want you to be aware. You can go there. I have pictures. I have pictures of the road. I have pictures of the house. People, safety hazard for them to go out their driveway, right? It's a safety hazard for the kids to walk the sidewalk to go to school. And this is, like they said, it's a patch-up because it's never been fixed because it's reoccurring mostly every 6 months. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Radimus Vasquez, and the biggest issue I find is that we can't find anyone to blame. You talk to the city of Hartford, they say it's MDC fault. Talk to MDC, city of Hartford. The federal government needs to get together with MDC, the mayor, and let's solve this problem. And let me tell you, this is a small amount of people here. I've been to the 2 other meetings, and they're not here, some of those people. That's what they want. They want this thing resolved. I've found 3 feet of water in my house, and I repaired it. I finally finished now. I just took $1,000 every month out my check, and I fixed what I could. It's finally finished now. Put a new furnace in, new water heater, everything. But I think that's what they want, resolution. You know, they paid for the damage that was probably done now, but let's resolve it. And that's what I hope happens.
Thank you, Radimus. Okay, so what we're doing is we're listening tonight, okay, and there's something to say to EPA? Okay, go right ahead, around the corner and talk to them. No, we're not going to do public speaking tonight, okay, because if there was, we'd have MDC up here at least having an opportunity to defend themselves and talk about what they are going to do, okay? And we would have DEEP and everyone else up speaking. But tonight, out of respect for the residents and the business owners, I would like the residents and business owners to come forward and bring up your issues. All right, and is there anyone else who would like to bring up the issues or would like to have something to say? One thing I'd like to do is thank everyone who showed up tonight and is taking this issue seriously. We want you to know that the issue is taken seriously or needs to be taken seriously because we are a community of color that has been ignored for so many years. And we would like to have the issues resolved immediately. We don't want to wait for the infrastructure money because we're paying our water bills. We're paying into the Clean Water Act right now. So we would like these issues resolved. That is why the meeting is called, and we're looking to have EPA working together with all the other agencies to address these issues. There are consent decrees in place that we are aware of. And if they are ignored or they are not complied with, then it hurts the people that are in this community. So if there's anyone else who'd like to come up and speak, and I think there were property owners here that had issues with the way their property was flooded on more than one occasion, speak now or forever hold your peace. All right. Okay, I think that we And we've come to the point where we're about to end our forum. Bridget Prince, please come up and end it properly. Wants to share what? Okay, all right. If no one has a problem with the mayor sharing a bigger issue, we'll have him share a bigger issue.
I appreciate it, Cynthia. Thank you. So first of all, thank you again to everybody who's here, and thank you, Bridget, for pulling everybody together. And thank you especially to the property owners who talked tonight. And some of your experiences I'm familiar with, and some of them I'm not. And those that I'm not, I will get familiar with, and we will work with you. But I do think it's important in this conversation just to talk about what is a big issue. We heard tonight some really awful experiences at some specific properties that are the result of some specific things, right? Whether it was the streetscape project where a pipe was broken, whether it was a demolition next door that damaged pipes, whether it was a contractor damaging stuff, all of those situations are horrific for the property owner that had to deal with it. But in some way, they're sort of limited to that specific property. There is a bigger issue which we have to talk about, which is our whole storm sewer system and our sewer system were built more than a century ago for the most part. It's an ancient system. And the work right now is going on to separate the sewer from the storm sewer so that when there's flooding, it doesn't back up and put sewage back into people's basements. But the thing I want to make sure that everybody here knows, because it's got to be part of our advocacy as a city, and our colleagues friends from DEEP and from EPA know this because we've been ringing this alarm bell too, but I want the community to know this. There's hundreds of millions of dollars of work being done to separate the sewer and the storm sewer. Hopefully that'll keep sewage out. The problem is that clean water money that's being spent on that can only be spent for the separation. It can't be spent to build a storm sewer system that's actually capable of handling the amount of water that we're getting. Because of climate change, we're seeing more extreme storms and more rain. And my biggest fear, and you all know I'm not going to be in this seat 11 months from now. So I'm saying this because I worry in the years ahead that we're going to be at a place where hundreds of millions of dollars have been spent to try to correct the issue, but they won't have actually corrected the issue because the systems may be separated, but the system that's going to be built to handle the stormwater is still being built to an old standard that's not good enough given how much rain's coming in. And so that's why I wanted to have the chance to share this with you tonight while our EPA colleagues are here, because one of the things that we as a city have been advocating for is let's broaden the scope of how those clean water dollars can be used so that they can be used not just on the sewer side, but to actually dredge the Park River so there's some place for the water to go. Actually put pipes in that are big enough so that the water can run off rather than backing up. If we're not talking about that, then I fear we're going to be sitting here 5, 10, 20 years from now and dealing with the same issues. So I appreciate the chance to flag that because I really think it's important for everybody to be aware of that. And I promise that we've been advocating for it. I think our folks, folks who are visiting can attest to that and talking with our federal delegation, but that has to stay front and center. In the meantime, we will do everything we can to try to provide some support, and I give you 100%. We're not making folks whole with $7,500 grants, but we are trying to make it as quick and easy as we can. But we know that's just the Band-Aid. The real issue is, can we finally solve this once and for all? And right now, without a change in how those clean water dollars can be spent, we're not solving it once and for all. And those dollars we're talking about are way bigger than the city of Hartford or any town or city anywhere can spend. That's why this clean water project definition is so, so important. So I'm grateful for the chance to say a few words. I appreciate the chance to listen to everybody tonight, and I want to say thank you again to everybody who's here. Thank you, Cynthia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. One of the things that did you have something you wanted to say? Please come up to the mic. Don't be shy.
My name is Freddie Graves, and I have here, it says all property, motor vehicle taxes, and outstanding parking tickets must be paid or brought current before you can apply for the grant. Our policy clearly prohibits the making of loans to property owners who have not fulfilled their obligation to pay city taxes.
Thank you.
Here we go. Here. Latest federal income tax return, two most recent, pay stubs, Social Security award letter, pension statement, proof of child support if applicable, proof of other income sources.
Thank you very much. And that comes straight from the application that for the $7,500 that the mayor was referencing. All right, thank you very much. I will say this, that I'm a civil rights lawyer. I'm also an environmental attorney. And I can tell you that racism is alive and well when the money is distributed. And that if we don't address the issue of race in this city, then we have not addressed the issue of people paying into public money and never getting the services that we pay for. I think that if there's consent decrees already in place, those are laws. And that means that if those are already in place, then they should be followed or complied with, or there are fines or something else that can happen to make sure that our people are made whole. It is no accident that North Hartford has been left out of the process. What's missing is a solution. And no, it is not first and foremost that we solve that problem. It's first and foremost that we address the issue of environmental justice or environmental racism and make sure that people are treated fairly and equally in this city that is mostly people of color. I think I have one more person that would like to say something.
I just came by to really talk about construction, but after I heard all the problems, my problem doesn't even compare. But what I heard from Mayor Bronin, a lot of the issues I hear from people here is broken pipes, not the amount of water that was coming down the sewer. It was clogged, broken pipes on Albany Avenue. So I don't think it's the amount of rain that we're getting that's having the problem.
Thank you. That is part of the problem. Okay, and it is up to the people in this room, our elected officials, our appointed officials, to address the problem and get it resolved. It is a solvable problem. It has been solved in so many other towns outside of Hartford that it's unbelievable. So we can't say that the problem cannot be solved. We're saying that we would like this problem solved equitably across the board for everyone, and those people who have suffered in this situation, that they be made whole immediately. All right, and I just want to thank everyone who's come up and spoken. I'd like to thank Bridget Prince. I'd like to thank EPA, DEEP, MDC. I'd like to thank the mayor. I'd like to thank the participants in particular, first and foremost, for stepping forward and addressing the issues. If there's anyone who has one more last dying thing they would like to say, please step forward before Bridget Prince comes up and makes her about this whole forum.
Thank you. Thank you, Attorney Jennings. Hey, Luke Bronin, there's a bigger issue, but it's not a bigger issue than Greenwich, Connecticut. The issue is here in North Hartford. Thank you for coming, and it's so important that you're here today in February in Black History Month. This is very important because this is about the discrimination against Black people, regardless of who actually is to blame. I have a deep love and deep affection for the north end of Hartford. This is my people. This is my native land. You got people coming here from all around the world, and they take care of their native land. Hartford, Connecticut is my native land. It is the land that my grandparents came to, who escaped sharecropping in Georgia and found a better life in the north end of Hartford. You know what I'm saying? My father, same situation, coming from Americus, Georgia. He called Hartford heaven. You know, so this is in my soul. So when I see this kind of stuff that's happening, like with the water, this is the kind of stuff that happens in third world countries. You know, so I feel like I'm sitting here just like really emotional because it means that much. You know, this is why they're here today. Because I feel like as a soldier who's, you know, a veteran in the United States Army, this is not what we should be going through. If I can sign my name on a dotted line and go to another country to fight for somebody to have clean water, it's going to happen in Hartford, Connecticut. Thank you, everyone. I'd like the EPA director to have a final word. Thank you. Administrator. He's a good guy, too. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't have much to say, but just to thank everyone for coming out tonight, for sharing your stories, for sharing your perspective. It's just so important for us as a regulatory agency to understand what's going on here, and that's why we've been sending inspectors here to understand what's happening on the ground. And so really appreciate you opening up the community for us meeting folks, and really appreciate that. And I just want to end on one final thing. Is one of the main focuses of the Biden-Harris administration and Administrator Michael Regan, so my boss in Washington, is to elevate environmental justice, to understand how communities all over this country have been overburdened and underserved for decade upon decade upon decade, and how now is the time for us to really focus on that and right those wrongs. And that's what we're doing here. So thank you. David Cash. Thank you, Cynthia.
Thank you, and thank everyone who came out tonight. I thank everyone who's a commissioner, who is an elected official, who is an appointed official, because it is going to take all of us with the residents and taking every one of their concerns in consideration. It's going to take all of us in order to resolve this problem. So thank you very much. I'd like to thank Stan McCauley for filming this undyingly, and who's also president of the Greater Hartford African American Alliance, who helped pull this issue together as well. Thank you so much. God bless you.